Welcome to the ARC Reactors. My name's John,
And my name is Greg.
and we are getting close to the end here. We're on episode 11 of The Amazing Race, the penultimate leg. We're moving from Sweden to Ireland, and Greg and I are still in it. We're competing in those final three spots, which is amazing, amazing. We're going to get through all of it here and now.
I just remember when we were in the Final Four, people were making a big deal about us being in the Final Four. You know, Phil at the mat was like, "You guys made it to the Final Four. This is huge. This is huge." Didn't feel that huge, but the Final Three, now it felt huge. Now it felt like we really made it.
Yeah.
Mama,
Yeah.
we made it.
We made it. And I think Annalie mentioned this on the show or in one of her recaps that just making it around the world with the Amazing Race is already an achievement. And especially being able to compete on everything that Bertram and Elise and the race made for us is, again, like checking the bucket lists off already. So we've won in a way already, which is, sappy, but very, very true. Genuinely.
It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. So we start off in Sweden. We rip our clue. Actually, before we even rip our clue, we get the honor of our first Expedia plugin and have to do a bit of advertisement with like the app. And you see that with Travelocity. And we actually book pretty seamlessly through the app. It was actually a pretty okay experience.
Yeah, I always remember seeing them do that on the show previously, like on past seasons, them doing like the whole,
Mm-hmm.
like, let's book our flight, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, we don't actually book our flight and everything right then and there. But it is a good app. It's a solid app. We missed the Gnome, we missed Travelocity, but Expedia is a good app, and they did not pay us to say that. It was pretty seamless. Johnny knows apps. Johnny knows the travel apps.
I know apps, I know travel apps. This one was pretty good. And we got to like the last step, and it's like right before you press confirm, they're like, and cut. And so you don't actually book them there. But we did end up all getting on the same flight and the same hotel from there. We get into our cabs to take us to the hotel. We clonk out. Gregory and I slept for I feel like we slept for like 18 hours after this leg, like in and out of sleep. But it was just that and a bit of Teen Titans Go. That was it for a long time.
Yeah, I always tell people whenever we get to the hotel, the first thing Johnny and I would do is look at the TV, see what channels are in English, write down all the channels that are in English, and then start to filter down from there. But the one that was always in English was the Discovery Channel. So we watched so many Container Wars, Storage Wars, Pawn Stars, Forged in Fire, all those kind of shows. But it's incredible. That was some of my favorite parts of the race. Those
It
days of
was.
us just chilling, having fun, eating our heart's desire. It was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I haven't touched any of those programs since you've come home, which is a shame.
You kidding me? I'm addicted, man. I watch it every night.
So we find out we're going to Ireland. We rip our clue, get in the cabs, go on our flights. Everything's fine and dandy there. We know that we're going to be swimming, but we land in Ireland, get into the car, and it's a little different than the self-driving we've done before because they have a map on the back seat for us, which is on paper literally amazing because you don't have to go through this whole route of asking people for directions everywhere. You have actually a basis to go because other places don't really have maps for free anymore. And then the second thing, for Gregory's sake, is that you're driving on the left side of the road, so the driver's in the right seat, which means Gregory's stick is now in his left hand, which you can speak to because I know nothing about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was actually turned out to be fine. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but it felt like we had a leg up because I had a stick shift car in college. So anytime
Mm-hmm.
there was stick shift, we were confident that was not going to be a limiting factor. But it almost felt like the slate was clean once it was on the left side. Nobody prepared for
Yeah.
a left side stick shift, but it ended up being all right.
So we kind of take the same path as Rob and Corey and Joel and Garrett and take this highway, get to the beach, and we see a lot of people. It's just kind of busy. I mean, it's a beach after all. I guess it's a tourist site. And we change into some swimsuits, find out we're going to the buoy. But that water was incredibly cold for me. I think you were able to hold it a lot better than I could.
Well, I mean, we're from the shy, baby. That's especially Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan, right after what season? Michigan, right? Oh, right after or right at the beginning of the summer. Michigan at the beginning of the summer, that
Mhm.
lake is freezing because it's coming off just a frozen lake through the winter. So it almost felt like that. It almost felt like going to the lake for the first time in the summer.
Yeah. Yeah. but neither of us have done like the polar plunge or anything. It was cold, and you can see me coming out the water. I'm just like, just like bent over because I'm just like freezing. And
Yep.
that same day, when I came back from the race, a friend of mine posted on Instagram and was like, "Oh, I had a great time in Ireland." I'm flipping through the photos, and I see this on her post. This is the same exact. Look at this. This is the same exact railing that we saw, and that's the flag right there. That's the Amazing Race flag. She was there the same day that we did this race. I just think how wild it would have been if we had overlapped and she sees Gregory and I with a camera crew running into the sea, and she's like, "What the heck is John doing here?" And I'm just like trying not to be seen. So I don't know.
Well, crew even told us if we saw someone that we knew, we weren't allowed to really say hi to them. But it would have
Mhm.
been incredibly difficult not to run into
I know.
someone and not say anything.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I feel like time wise, especially since we were seeing all the other teams there, I would have been like, I got a job to do right now. So
Yeah. So how you been? What's
yeah.
up?
So we get done with that, change back. We were asking for people for directions. Again, so many people, crew, production, and strangers. So it was kind of hard to tell who's who. You go up to somebody like, "Hey, can you help me get directions somewhere?" And they're just like looking at you like, "Okay, you're crew. Okay, never mind." So it takes a little bit of finding someone who will help. We get directions. By the time we get directions, though, Steve and Anna Lee are on our tail, and oh my gosh, we're right back to Robin and Chelsea, especially since
Yeah.
Anna Lee was one of the highest complainers of that strategy.
Yeah, and yeah, that's true. I mean, she said it in the show. She doesn't want to, but I guess they were last. But Johnny and I, we decided to get directions before getting into the car, just because once you're in the car, then you're responsible, for the car. You got to find a place to park, find someone to find directions for. So we were like, okay, we're going to take the time before we get to the car, get directions. But as we were getting directions, it probably took us like 5, 7 minutes or so. During that time, Stephen and Lee were able to catch up. Like they finished the swimming and catch up. Literally, it was such a flashback to the Robin and Chelsea times. And so as soon as we saw that, I remember I think I said in the show, we were like, we do not want them to follow us. So we tried to book it, but somehow they caught up. And I mean, it was kind of risky on them, right? Because I mean, they didn't really show it in the show, but we did get lost. I mean, Johnny and I, we got lost for a little bit, and since they were following us, they got lost too. So that's it's the pro and con of following someone.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We took some weird turn, and we ended up having to get out the car, ask someone for directions, and it was all four of us: Steve, Anna Lee, Gregory, and I, asking this dude for directions. So they don't show that we're not fully squeaky clean. It was, I think, the only time we got lost in a while. But it ended up, yeah, we ended up going some weird way. So many one ways in downtown Dublin. It was incredible how many one ways and how tight they were. Lots of parking garages. So it took a little bit. Props to the other teams for
And
finding that so quickly.
and the one ways are tough too because you're used to turning. The left and the rights are a little bit different. Like being on the left
Mm-hmm.
side of the street versus the right side of the street, like kind of turning into one ways, just really is confusing. And yeah, it's so tight. Those streets were so tiny. That was tough driving,
Yeah,
but made it through. We made it through.
get through. Got it
Made
done
it through.
last, but we got it done.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
and when we showed up to actual theater, I definitely thought that it was going to be for whatever reason. Like literally, they said drive to a theater, and my brain went because it said who wants to get their steps in. So I thought, okay, it's going to be one of those running challenges, kind of like the pegs in Slovenia, where you have to go to different
Mhm.
places. So I was like, okay, well Johnny's better at directions, so like maybe he should do it. But you knew it was going to be dancing.
I knew it was going to be dancing, but I didn't even look at like the river dancing thing. At no point was I look at this. Like that's what we're doing. We were right in front of that theater. But yeah, in the Amazing Race, you'll see a clue box and they'll say, "Here's where you need to go next." Of course. So didn't put that together. I'm sure everybody else did. And yeah, I decided I was going to do it, so I was dancing, and yeah, that's just one of those moments. Head down, just like focus, just get through it, especially when you're last. So, this really kind of reminded me of India where we kind of showed up and you see everybody already working on the routine and it's just like quickly as possible to learn. And so India, I think, gave me some good training for how to prioritize getting through the steps and like looking at the routine a few times, just focusing on the problem areas and then trying to get to performing as quickly as possible. So all that gave me
Yeah,
some confidence. And I think we were both pretty relieved that Anna Lee wasn't doing it over Steve. Steve held his weight in that challenge though, but might
I
have gotten out
actually
of there a
didn't
little.
know. I didn't know that Steve got out before Joel and Garrett. I mean, I didn't know really what
You
happened
didn't know until the
back
show.
there.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah, I kind of thought I just assumed that Steve left afterwards, but yeah, he killed it. He did great.
he did great. He did great, and it was a lot of fun too. Like all of our instructors were so good, and the judge was so kind. Great feedback. It took me 3 tries to get it. I think Corey said it took him 6, and then you saw kind of Joel and Steve going for it. But up there, you just feel like you feel like part of the squad, but then that last move really takes you to a whirl. You never know. You're doing like the 1 2 3, 2 2 3, 3 2 3, 4 2 3, and then da 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 da. And every time I'm coming up to that, I'm like, okay, here we go, here we go. And those first 2 times I messed up. You just try to strike the last pose. If you could just like strike the last pose, you're like, maybe they didn't see any of that. Just finish strong. So that was kind of my mentality going in.
It reminded me of India too, because in India it was the same thing. At the very end, that little like bow that you all had to do, keep pulling it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the last
Yeah.
move. If you can just kill that last move, you'll be fine. It was kind of nice that you did do a dance challenge before, because yeah, you did learn
Mm,
about like how to do it beforehand. Like if I did it, I would have to come, or I would have had to come fresh, but you had done it
yeah.
before, so that was great. I mean, you did a great job, because that I really think that saved us, because we came in there last, and the fact that we were able to jump 2 teams and by a significant amount too. I mean, I think we
Mm,
had, at least when we were leaving, we hadn't even, nobody else had even gone, right? Like Joel hadn't
mm,
gone, Steve hadn't
mm.
gone, so we were feeling good, and that really propelled us to continue going forward.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You'll have your turn later to keep us on pace for a
Yeah,
roadblock. So yeah, we rip our clue, find out we're going to a stadium. We get directions fine. Starts raining a little bit. Get our drive through. Uh, get to the stadium park. We see Rob and Corey's car is still there, so we're like, all right, maybe we could hunt them down, get a little first place, little snip first place real quick. But we run up the stairs, and it ends up being a pretty linear, like timed clocked leg in the stadium. And it starts out with a challenge we don't even see. They don't air it. There's a missing challenge of Amazing Race Season 35. I never thought it would happen with only 4 teams in 90-minute episodes. So we ended up doing like, it wasn't rappelling. There was another name for it, but it's what spies do in movies when they're like breaking into like a vault from the ceiling and they're like roping down. We did that from the
yeah, it
ceiling with
was
the
so much
yeah.
fun. It was so much fun. It did seem random at the time, because we got to the stadium and we assumed it was going to be something with sports, kind of like Kim and Penn season at the very end, where they
Mm-hmm.
went to the stadium and they had to do something in the middle of the stadium. Yeah, but it felt random that we just had to rappel. And then we got back down, and then the actual challenge started. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it afterwards, especially knowing that they had 90-minute episodes. They probably filmed a little bit more than they needed, just in case they needed to fill time. But I think with the dancing filled up a good amount of time of the episode. So they probably just didn't
Almost too
need
much time.
yeah, it was a good
IMO.
amount of time.
It was a lot of reps, yeah. So that was a lot of
Yeah.
fun. And it's like all heights challenges. It's that first leap, and then from there it's fun. And the farther down you get, the closer you get to the ground, so the less scary it is. It's just how it works. So we get through that, and then we have another roadblock. You're thinking maybe there's a detour here, but no roadblock. And Gregory has to do it because now we're on our last roadblock of the season. I've done 6, he's done 5, and it ends up being a sport, which right up your alley.
Yeah, yeah. It ends up being a sport. Never heard of the sport before, hurling. After we
Nope.
had done the challenge, after we were driving through Dublin to get back to our hotel and do our interviews and everything, we saw it all over the place. Yeah, I don't know how we missed it before, but
Yeah,
apparently it's a
I don't know how
huge
you missed
sport
it.
in Ireland.
Like the Riverdancing on the theater. You're just so focused, you just don't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I'm so great. I was thinking about it. I was looking at it back, because I got it on my. They showed it looked like my first time, but I got it on my second try. You just had to do like a drill where you just had to hold it and pass it to someone, blah blah blah. But the hard part was actually getting it through that post. And the first time I hit it, I think I might have, yeah, I forgot where I hit it the first time. I forgot how close it was. But then after getting it that second time, I was kind of in disbelief for a little bit. You kind of saw me afterwards. I like paused for a second, and I was like, "Let's go!" I could still feel it going through. But at that time, we didn't know where anybody was. I mean,
Hmm.
I think Corey did pretty well, but we hadn't seen them at all. Like pretty much
Yeah.
since the dancing, we hadn't seen them. So it was nice to get out, but we didn't necessarily feel like we were able to jump Rob and Corey at that point.
You did that so fast. Like I didn't even. I it just sat down in those chairs, and the camera crew just started asking me questions. I said like 2 lines, and then all of a sudden you go, "Let's go!" And yeah, I just it takes a while to register it. So props to you for getting this through. And
Yeah.
at that point, it could be route info, it could be pit stop. We've already done a few route infos and then two roadblocks, but it's a route info. We go to this pub. Don't know what we're going to do there, but we get there and find out it's a memorization challenge. We got to memorize these two poems passages and recite them. We didn't really choose strategically who was going to do what. It was kind of just random when we got there, but you 100% had the harder one. That made zero sense. And I think everybody who watched that knows that.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one made no sense. And yeah, I mean it was a hard one, but yeah, we got it through. I wonder because I forget how many. I think it actually ended up taking 2 tries. It's funny that the part that I got wrong was the part that kind of made sense, right? Like I thought I would get that nor last, nor only, whatever all that nor stuff was, but it was just like a neither. It was like neither versus nor or something along those lines. But it was fun to walk in. Like everyone was chatting, everyone in the bar was chatting and having fun, and music was playing, and everyone was having a good time. And then as soon as we walked in, it was just dead silence. Someone was like, "Can we get silence, please?" And it was dead silence. You could hear them in the show too. So the
Mm-hmm.
pressure was there.
Yeah, it felt kind of like a hive mind of some sort. Like everybody was connected and then just shut down, or like a simulation of some sort. Everyone's just chatting all of a sudden. We're listening. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it did.
so a little uneasy, but the silence was good. We were able to get through it. And then when we failed the first time, we thought, oh, of course, you have to say the author and the name of the text afterwards. So we just went up, fit that in, and then we got the pass. So this whole time I'm thinking, oh, we had to say James Joyce Ulysses, but it only took a few tries. So we got through, got that. Never saw any other teams throughout this whole process. So now we're like, all right, we're pretty solidified second place here. That's okay. Good for Rob and Corey. They haven't won yet. And yes, this time it's race to the pit stop. It was a good little jog to get there too.
It was. It
Yeah.
was a fair little jog. Yeah, and we ended up. I don't know. I think production was mad because we ended up going like all the way around the church instead of coming in where they wanted
Mm-hmm.
us to. So it took us a little bit. Took us a little bit to find it, but we weren't pressed at that time. Like there was nobody behind us. There was nobody in front of us. It was
Mm-hmm.
ours at that point.
Yeah, but we made it. We are final three. Final three. What?
Yeah,
And there was a
that
nice little
was.
crowd around too, because again, when you're not the first team, that means a team has already come, and so the crowd's starting to form. They see the cameras, so it was nice to feel like we had this grand entrance in a way.
Yeah, it definitely was the biggest crowd that we had seen at a pit stop. Sometimes, like Johnny said, the crowd does form, but this one, for whatever reason, there were just a lot of people that were there and watching, and people asking questions afterwards. So that was
Yeah,
quite nice. But I really liked that speech that we gave afterwards. Like again, these are all things that I've seen in past seasons, and it's fun for us to be in those moments because I remember every
yeah.
time when it gets to the final three, they start talking about, they start talking that talk about how they're going to win the Amazing Grace, and that was hilarious when you were like, uh, you're like the other team's got to win. That's cute. That was really funny.
No reason to
All right.
stay humble at that point. Yeah, I was a little amped because it was like, dang, second place again. Like, um, but yeah, it's fun. And like you said, it's knowing that we're finally gonna get our segment of this part of the season. Same thing with Expedia. We're getting to do this part of the season, so it just means you're making it. And now we are making it to Seattle for the final leg. It's gonna be a hectic one for sure. And just again, like we said in the beginning, really grateful we were able to get through everything the race had to offer.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, man, y'all don't know. Y'all really don't know. It's. I was telling someone the other day. It feels. I don't know if I'm enjoying it as much as other people are watching it. I'm enjoying it because I get to watch myself and like play it back
Mhm.
and watch us and everything of that nature. But there's no suspense, right? Like every episode I watch, I know exactly what's going to happen. Everyone else is on the edge of their seats. So
Yeah.
be on the edge of your seat for one more week, then we can talk about everything. No,
Awesome.
all hats off the table.
Yeah, for real. We'll see you there. Thanks for holding on this far into the season. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next week for our last one. Feel free to like, feel free to subscribe. We'll hope to make some more stuff afterwards, but we still got one more. So at least stay for that. At least.
At least.
At
Thanks for
least.
watching.
Bye.